Hello, 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 and welcome back to the AI Cafe Conversations, AI for Executives, AI where no tech is required. This is Sahar, your AI whisperer. Today is our regular podcast Wednesday episode. Let me tell you about a conversation I had last month with a Fortune 500 CHRO. She said, Sahar, we know shadow AI is a problem in our organization, but I generally don't know whose job is it to fix it. Is it mine? Is it the CIO? Is it legal? Everyone points to someone else. And I told her that's exactly why shadow AI persists. Because when accountability is unclear, no one acts. And here is what's fascinating about this from a neuroscience perspective. Your brain doesn't just need to know what to do, it needs to know who is supposed to do it. When responsibility is diffused across multiple people, something called the bystander effect kicks in. Everyone assumes someone else will handle it, so no one does. And that's exactly what's happening with shadow AI in most organizations. Everyone sees the problem. No one believes it's their problem to solve. So today we are going to fix that, or try. I'm going to walk you through Shadow AI accountability framework, a clear model for who owns what, who's responsible for what, and how to create accountability that actually drives action. Because here is the thing, Shadow AI is not one problem. It's 5 different problems that require 5 different owners. And until you get clear on who owns what, you will keep having the same conversation over and over and over without making progress. So let's dive in. So why someone should handle this doesn't work. Okay, let's start with why most organizations fail at AI accountability. And it usually starts with a C-suite conversation that sounds something like, the CEO will say, we need to address our AI strategy. Someone should take the lead on this. And then everybody looks around the table. The CIO thinks, well, it's technology, so maybe me. The CHRO thinks it affects people and culture, so maybe me. The general counsel thinks, these are compliance risks, so maybe me. And then one says, let's form a committee. And that's where AI strategies go to die. Because here is what neuroscience tells us about committees. They diffuse accountability. When everyone is responsible, no one feels personally accountable. And when no one feels personally accountable, action doesn't happen. But here is the deeper problem. Shadow AI isn't a single function issue. It's not just IT. It's not just HR. It's not just legal. It's all of them, plus operations, plus leadership. So the real question isn't who should own AI. The question is what aspects of AI does each function own? And this is where the Shadow AI accountability framework comes in, because it breaks down the problem into 5 distinct ownership areas. And each area has a clear owner. Let me show you what I mean. Ownership area 1, strategic direction. First ownership area is strategic direction. This is the why are we doing this question. And this one is clear. The CEO owns it, or at minimum, a C-level executive with direct CEO mandate. Because here is what happens when strategic direction lives too low in the organization. AI becomes a project instead of a transformation. It becomes something IT is doing, not something the business is doing. And when employees see AI as an IT thing, they don't take it seriously. They work around it. They use shadow AI because they don't see the approved strategy as relevant to their work. So strategic direction has to live at the top. The CEO has to say AI is a business imperative, not a technology experiment. And this is critical, owning strategic direction doesn't mean owning execution. The CEO doesn't build the policy, doesn't train the team, doesn't monitor compliance. The CEO sets direction, says, hey, this matters, this is a priority, and I'm holding leaders accountable for making progress. That's it. That's the CEO job on Shadow AI. Ownership area 2, policy creation. Second ownership area is policy. Who writes the rules? And this is where most organizations get it wrong. They assign policy creation to one function, usually legal or IT. And then that function creates a policy that doesn't work because it wasn't designed with input from the people who actually use AI. So here is the model that works. Policy creation is owned by a cross-functional working group. IT, security, HR, legal, and representatives from high AI use departments like marketing, sales, and operations. And the working group has one job: create a policy that balances three things. 1, security and compliance that goes to legal and IT need. 2, productivity and innovation. This is what business units need. 3, psychological safety and trust, what HR and employees need. If your policy optimizes for only one of these, it fails. Optimize for only security, people work around it. Optimize only for productivity, you create unmanaged risk. Optimize only for trust, you lose governance. The working group's job is to find the balance, and then the working group presents the policy to leadership for approval. But, and that is a key, the working group doesn't own implementation, they own creation. Someone else owns rollout. Ownership number 3, or area 3, implementation. Third ownership area is implementation. Who actually rolls out the policy and ensures teams adopt it? This one lives with departments heads and middle managers, not C-suite, not central IT, the people who lead teams, and needs it. Because here is what I have learned. AI adoption doesn't happen through company-wide mandates. It happens team by team, manager by manager. Your best managers figure out how to apply the AI policy to their team's specific work. They coach their people on which tools to use for which tasks. They model AI use themselves. Your worst managers forward the policy email and say, read this and comply. So implementation ownership means each department head is accountable for their team's AI adoption, not just compliance, adoption. And this is where you need metrics. Not, did your team read the policy? But metrics like, what percentage of your team is actively using approved AI tools? And how many AI-driven improvements has your team implemented this quarter? Because you get what you measure. Remember the old saying, what you can't measure doesn't exist? And if you're not measuring adoption, you are only measuring compliance. And compliance doesn't drive value. Ownership number 4, compliance monitoring. Fourth ownership area is compliance monitoring. Who makes sure people are following the policy? This one's is straightforward. IT security, legal co-own this together. IT security monitors technical compliance, what tools are being used, what data is being accessed. Are these security vulnerabilities? Legal monitors policy compliance. Are employees sharing sensitive information with unapproved tools? Are we exposed to regulatory risk? Do we have audit trails? But here is the critical part. Compliance monitoring is not enforcement. It's detection and escalation. When IT security detects shadow AI use, they don't shut it down immediately. They escalate to the department head. Hey, we're seeing your team using tool X. Can you help us understand what they are trying to accomplish? And can we find an approved alternative? Because remember what we learned in the surfacing protocol episode last week? When you approach shadow AI with curiosity instead of punishment, you learn things. You discover unmet needs. You find opportunities to improve your approved toolkit. So compliance monitoring is about visibility and partnership, not policing. Ownership area 5, culture and psychological safety. Fifth and final ownership area is culture. Who creates the psychological safety that makes transparency possible? That's HR domain. But not just HR. This is HR partnering with every level of leadership. Because here is what we know from neuroscience. People don't hide shadow AI because they are bad employees. They hide it because they don't feel safe admitting they found a better way to work. So HR's job is to build a culture where experimentation is rewarded, not punished. Where employees feel safe saying, hey, I tried this unapproved tool and it saved me 5 hours. Can we evaluate it for broader use? This means HR has to train managers on how to respond to shadow AI discovery. Not with, you broke the rules, but with, tell me more about what you were trying to solve. This means HR has to create feedback mechanisms, shadow AI listening sessions, amnesty periods, AI champion networks. And this means HR has to measure psychological safety, regular pulse checks. Do you feel comfortable discussing AI experimentation with your manager? Or do you believe innovation is valued more than compliance? Because if psychological safety is low, shadow AI stays underground, and you never learn what you need to learn to improve your strategy. All right, so you understand the 5 ownership areas. Now let's talk about how to actually implement this in your organization and how to map it to your organization. Step number 1. Creating the accountability matrix. And I'm going to give you a simple framework called RACI, R-A-C-I. It stands for responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed. Here is how it works for shadow AI. For strategic direction, accountable is CEO. Responsible is C-suite leadership team. Consulted, board, if appropriate. I, informed, entire organization. For policy creation, accountable, chief AI officer or whoever owns AI strategy. Responsible, cross-functional working group, IT, legal, HR, business reps. Consulted, department heads, employee representatives. Informed, leadership team. For implementation, accountable, department heads. Responsible, frontline managers. Consulted, HR for change management support. Informed, IT security so they know what to expect. For compliance, monitoring. Accountable, CIO or CISO. Responsible, IT security team, legal team. Consulted, department heads when issues arise. Informed, C-suite, monthly or quarterly reporting. For culture and psychological safety, accountable, CHRO. Responsible, HR business partners, leadership development team. Consulted, department heads, employee resource groups. Informed, all manager. Now, once you have this mapped, you do something critical. You publish it. Not as a policy document, as a one-page accountability chart. Here is who owns what for AI in our organization. And you share it company-wide, so everyone knows who to go to for what. If you are interested in having that chart or that one-page accountability chart, email me or drop a comment here. You can email me at sahar@saharconsulting.com and I'll email it back to you. You share it company-wide so everyone knows who to go to for what. Because here is what this does. It eliminates the diffusion of responsibility. When an employee discovers a great AI tool, they know exactly who to tell. When a manager has a question about policy, they know exactly who to ask. Clarity creates action. Ambiguity creates avoidance. So make it clear. Put names next to roles. Make it public and hold people accountable. Before we wrap, I want to talk about the one thing that determines whether accountability actually drives results, which what I call the critical success factor. And it's not the framework. The framework is important, but it's not enough. The critical success factor is this. The CEO has to publicly hold people accountable. Not in a punitive way, in a progress check way. This means in leadership meetings, the CEO asks, how is AI adoption going in your department? What's working? What's not? What do you need from me? This means in all hands meeting, the CEO shares updates. Here is what we're learning about how our teams are using AI. Here is what we're changing based on that feedback. This means in performance reviews, AI adoption shows up as a metric for department heads. Because here is what neuroscience tells us. Behavior that gets attention gets repeated. Behavior that gets ignored gets abandoned. If the CEO stops asking about AI progress, department heads stop prioritizing it. If department heads stop prioritizing it, managers stop caring. If managers stop caring, employees go back to shadow AI. Dominoes effect. So accountability isn't just about assigning roles. It's about consistency, publicly checking progress on those roles. That's how you turn a framework into a culture. So let me bring this home. Shadow AI persists because accountability is unclear. Everyone thinks someone else should handle it, so no one does. The Shadow AI accountability framework fixes that. 5 ownership areas, clear roles, public accountability, strategic direction, CEO policy creation, cross-functional working group, implementation, department heads, compliance, IT security, legal culture, HR, and leadership. Map it, publish it, hold people accountable. Do it like an organizational chart that will be clear, that people can just look at it and get it. Because when everyone knows whose job it is, the job gets done. Next Friday, in our Forbes article Like podcast, we are going to talk about why most AI consulting are lying to you about shadow AI. Tongue in cheek, right? And how to tell the difference between real solution and expensive theater. Until then, ask yourself this. If I ask your team right now, who owns AI in our organization? Would they all give me the same answer? If not, you have an accountability problem, and accountability problems create shadow AI problems. Fix the first, and you will fix the second. Talk soon. This is Sahar, your AI whisperer. Show me some love. Like, share, save. Share it with someone that needs to hear this. Email me at sahar@saharconsulting.com, especially if you want that one-page accountability, the RACI formula. You can find me on LinkedIn at Sahar Andradi. You can find me on Instagram, Sahar the Reinvent Coach. Thank you for being part of our podcast. I will see you on Friday on our Forbes article Like Extra Flavor Coffee of the week. That is 12 minutes or less for AI for executive, AI no tech required. Thank you for sticking with me through Shadow AI. And I know there is very few people that talk about it in details like I do. Not because it's me, but because I thought that this is very important. It's affecting productivity and revenues. It's affecting security, compliance, governance in every single organization that I go to. And I'm sure it touches everybody else. And that's why I wanted to keep removing the layers of Shadow AI and give you solutions for it. That being said, I'll leave you in peace. Peace out. I'll see you on Friday. Stay safe.
1